Hello, Tune.
Good evening.
How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for joining me this evening on a Friday evening with my kind of ale.
I know. I'm so jealous.
I know you.
That's what I'll be doing after this. I can tell you, Simon. I'll be having a few beers myself. So,
Well, you're welcome to on here. The best thing about this is we don't get told off by Matrix for doing what we want to do, so you can have a beer anytime.
it's after working hours now.
I know, yeah. Everybody's joining in. There's the comments coming through fast. I can't keep up with them. But,
Oh, great. Well, I can't see any comments my end, so you're gonna have to keep me clued in with all that. But
oh, they're not
brilliant.
coming in. Well, they're all basically saying hello, so I'll just read out the names. But it's Elaine Swan, Kim Burns, Deirdre Donnelly,
Oh,
Julie
hello.
Medlin, Leanne Hare, Lisa Martin, and Grace Wilson so far.
Oh, hi, girls. Thank you for joining me. I bet
No.
they've all got a glass of wine.
I know, yeah. Well, I'm just sharing it to the groups now so that we all know that we're all live. But yeah, it's 22 so far. That's pretty good for the first minute. So it usually grows as the night goes on. So, what we're learning today, by the way, because I know what we're learning, but what does everybody else want to know what we're learning?
Well, it'd be great if they popped it in the chat if there was anything specific that they wanted to know.
Yeah.
Um, just for my part, really, it is talking about how to give the client the best consultation, and knowing a little bit of science behind the hair, so you can execute that really honest consultation. Because I have to say, on my part, it was probably a bit of a guessing game for I hate to say it, for probably about 10 years. When their color didn't last as long, or, and I think we, as hairdressers, well, we're very good at blaming the product. I don't know about if you've done that, Simon, but you haven't got the best results, it's thrown into the back of the cupboard, never to be used again. Well, actually, there's no such thing as a bad product. It's just lack of information and using it wrong. So yeah, if I could just maybe talk about that as well tonight, that would be great. And talking about the makeup of the hair as well, because that was something that I didn't really know. And again, when I was training, nobody really explained that to me, and that was a real light bulb moment when I did all my training with that as well.
Sorry, I muted it. But yeah, I think it's a great idea because a lot of talk at the minute about online consultations to keep the heads of clients out of the salon as much as we possibly can. So I think this is a great way to sort of introduce that to people. And while you're watching this, go straight in and say, do you know what, ladies and gents, we're in next week. Let's have a talk about your hair this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, again, with virtual consultation, um, asking a series of questions sometimes, when open-ended questions, clients can tell you a little bit about that. You can get an indicator of maybe home care, what are they using, their regime, how much effort do they put in every day to their hair, can tell you a lot about, really, if they're not using treatments, if they're not buffering that hair, what that hair could be lacking. So it's going down that road. And with my experience as well, I did. So again, I'm a regional education developer for Matrix, for anybody that doesn't know. And I had a salon for 24 years. My experience was I went and did colour mastery, where I learned exactly about the hair, the makeup of the hair. And, I think there's a lot of us out there that do maybe in foundations and we cover it off, but we don't think about it too much. And it does play massively in giving that good consultation, because once you know what that client's hair type is, what it's lacking, maybe not lacking in anything, then we should be talking about products and maintenance right from the get-go, right from the very beginning. I know that when I started, it would be something that we would talk about at the end at reception, if there's anything else we could do for that client, or anything else you'd like. But that client doesn't know because you haven't spoken about it. So it should be right through the journey of the salon, but absolutely right in the very beginning as well.
Yeah, 100% agree with that because I've explained to Claire, by the way, but if you think, why is he not looking at me? The camera's there and my monitor's here, so bear with me. But yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And you made a confession earlier, and I'll defend that. I don't, I've been hairdressing for 17 years now, and I'm a similar vote to you. I still learn from the first time me and you had a chat about this, and which is why I wanted you back on, because of how much I learned, and I've been doing it 17 years. So I think we could all learn something from it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just wanted to go really firstly just through, and I know we probably don't want to have a granny at the suck eggs, but the main areas of the hair. So we've got there a cross section. I don't know if you guys can see it. A cross section of the hair strand. So one strand of hair. And we know that when we are talking about the main areas for our products and our porosity and our elasticity, we're talking about certain areas of the hair shaft. So right on the outside, and I always think of it as being like your roof tiles on a house, is our cuticle area there. And it's very, very important that we look after and maintain a really good cuticle, because again, we're not going to get the longevity out of the colour if we don't. Inside the hair strand is our cortex, and this is where all the magic happens. We have cortical fibers in there that give us the hair strength, but this is where our pigment is found as well. So again, this is where all our colouring happens, is inside the cortex. Right in the middle of the hair as well, we've got like a fibrous protein, which is our medulla. And again, we know that it's really not got that much uses for us. And sometimes it's non-existent. So my hair is very fine, and I probably haven't even got a medulla. But we know that if you're doing any type of testing, so any medical testing, or if they are doing testing for athletes, they would look down in the medulla, because there would be traces of whatever that person has taken. It would store in the medulla. But other than that, we don't really know if there's any much use for it, really. So again, working on the parts of the hair, when we're doing our consultation, we can find out a lot about that client by, again, her routine, what colour she's got on her hair. Also, it's going to be really important to check porosity and elasticity as well. So Simon, have we got any questions in before I go anymore?
Do you know what? No questions. I'm not going to lie, but we've got a lot of comments. So people mainly just checking in. Paul King saying well said on the remarks that we made earlier about maybe wanting to learn more, and we could all learn. Defo every day is a learning day, but I'll just read one particular one out because they're all sort of complimentary. Kim Burns said, I remember the first time I heard Claire John talk about the makeup of hair. It blew my mind, and I tell all my clients.
Oh, that's brilliant. And again, it was the same for me as well. It was a real light bulb moment. And when I knew the makeup of the hair, I took that back, and I had a whole different look on my consultation. Looking at what the hair needs is so important, but it's something we can skirt over. And I don't know if any of you guys, pop it in the chat if you have, if when someone has said that their colour hasn't lasted, do we know why it hasn't lasted? Are we looking at the porosity levels, if the cuticles are really damaged, or are we just thinking, probably as I would in the past, blame the product for that as well? We always have a little story for the client. We don't really know why. Now, the makeup of the hair is absolutely fundamental in being able to find out exactly what that client's problems are. And I'm just going to turn this over here so I can write on it. And I don't know whether you can all see me. I'm in a little tiny area, and you might not be able to see the board. I hope you can. So I was going to write on this for you. Can you, perhaps you could tell me, Simon, are you able to see the board there?
Perfect. Yeah, I'll read out a comment while you sort that out. It says, I also say the hair is like an unopened pine cone that opens with heat, but it's lovely and tightly compacted when fallen off a tree, just like the cuticle on our hair.
That's really good. Do you know what? I love an analogy. So I probably pinched that with myself. That's absolutely brilliant. So again, the makeup of the hair. And, you know, when we are thinking about ranges of products, so shampoos, conditioners, treatments, the actual companies that make the products, know what the makeup of the hair is, which sounds crazy because a lot of hairdressers don't.
Yeah.
They know because every range that you will have the first 3 markups of the hair that I'm going to go through as well.
Okay.
So the first one that we are talking about is protein. Okay. Now, I was absolutely astounded to know that the percentages of protein in the hair, I don't know whether we could maybe have anybody coming in just to give me a quick answer. How much do you think the percentage of protein is in the hair? So we're talking roughly about, it's going to add up to about 100% with all the makeup, and there's 5 things, okay? Anything coming in?
Please don't embarrass me on this.
And I would say for all our reds that's on it, keep quiet.
Yeah. Just a quick one. Lee John has dived in and said, could you just move the board closer to yourself so we can see it? We just can't see the word PRO on protein, the letters, sorry.
This way?
The other way? A bit more? Perfect. Perfect. Can see it now. See it all?
Yeah.
Yep.
Brilliant. So, protein. Again, we can, if you think of protein, the other word for that is keratin. We can find that in treatments, keratin blow dries. You see it everywhere that's advertised. And the reason being is because it's so important to the makeup of the hair. It makes up 70 to 80% of the hair's makeup. That's a massive percent of your hair, the hair makeup, isn't it? So if you're depleted in your protein levels, then it's really, really important for your colour, the integrity of your hair, that you are doing protein treatments, okay? Now, another one that I'll talk about, because you could easily over-keratinize the hair as well.
Okay.
But again, it's a big markup of the hair. So at some point or other, at some journey through your colouring process, you're going to need protein, okay? The next one is moisture. Now, and again, before I really went into the looking at the makeup of the hair, it's quite easy to misdiagnose a client as well. So you're thinking that they need protein, but sometimes they could actually need moisture. And I will talk to you about how to tell the difference between those.
I'm hard
Moisture.
I'm waiting for you to ask me. Oh, I'd have said 10 to 15. Swear on my life. I was going to say, if you'd have asked me, 10 to 15 all the way.
Brilliant. So you did pick something up the last time, Simon.
Yeah, I must have done, because I feel like, to be fair, I was just working on what maths I had left. I've only got 20% left anyway.
So 10 to 15% is moisture. Okay, so again, another big markup of the hair. Now, we can, again, look at the hair. Is it chemically damaged? Is it mechanical damage? And we will offer a protein shampoo or conditioner where really they could have maybe done with some moisture. They're looking like a wilted plant. So again, it is really important that we put moisture back into the hair as well. I'm studying as a person who's got curly hair, really fine. I am needing moisture all the time. Curly hair lacks moisture naturally.
Yeah.
So I can over proteinize mine really easily, but also I've got to be keeping moisturizing and adding moisture into it. The flip side is I can over moisturize my hair and the curls lose definition and go really frizzy. So it's getting that really, really fine balance as well. The third one is lipid. Now, it's a fatty lipid, but you might know it more as ceramide. Okay, so ceramide is, again, a lot of products we find we've got ceramide in, and it's something that a terminology that we use in hairdressing. But how much percentage is a lipid? Okay. Anybody coming in before I write it down, Simon?
But do you know what? There's always a lot of thinking phases, but no one committing to an answer, much like myself, really.
Right. Okay.
I'm even getting called out by people. Jane asking me to have a guess, and who else is it? Carolina's laughing at me because I got one right.
So lipids are 3 to 6%.
Yeah.
Again, still a really, really important part, because your fatty lipid, your ceramide, is like the hair cement. Okay. It is found in your cortex and it anchors those rope structure, I always try to think of it as. So if you've got a really, really tight rope, you've got strength in your hair. When we use a lot of chemical processes and we don't buffer that hair, that rope can unravel and then you get very, very weak. So your ceramide is like the hair cement. And again, it will be found on the cuticle area, but it also is found in the cortex as well. It's super important on the cuticle area because I think of your cuticle as your roof tiles. And what we can do as well with heat, with chemicals and with heat, is we can deplete our ceramide level. A ceramide always thinks of, it's like the cement that's on your roof tiles.
Okay.
So if you're putting lots of heat on there, and you've got obviously chemicals or colouring services, that can start to deplete your cuticle, and then your cuticle starts to come away slightly. Then the worst instance is you're not buffering the hair with the ceramide, and off the cuticle comes, and then again, you know, it's gone. So ceramide is a really, really important part, and it's 3 to 6% of the hair's makeup as well.
Linda Gilder, who's my mother-in-law, who was here earlier, she was the closest. She said 5%.
Brilliant. So
Yeah.
we're all thinking now, because I said 100%. So we're all realizing that we haven't got much to go now. This is the light bulb moment that actually blew me away. When I found this out, it was like, I cannot believe this. So your pigment. So when you see, because I think we're very good at doing that, we can be in Asda and we're stood in the back of the queue and we're thinking, oh, he's a 7, she's a 5. We're very good at, we just do it automatically, don't we? But if you see that 5, you think that is flooded with pigment, don't you?
Yeah.
But have a guess how much pigment is in that hair.
Oh, is it? Do you want me to have a guess? Hang on, we'll give it 10 seconds. But while everyone else gets a guess, and then I'll throw mine in. But I remember learning about the lipids last time because I didn't even know what a lipid was, and I'm a matrix artist, so that's embarrassing. And then what else was I going to say? Someone else has put something in here. Nicholas all agree with me. She said she was going to say 5% on the lipid, but she didn't dare in case she was wrong. And then we have.
There's no wrong answers here. We've like I said, we're all continually learning, and like I said, I was about 10 years in before I knew this.
So we've got a few guesses coming now. So the first guess was Kim Burns. She's saying 3% pigment. We've got Janice Ayres, who says 1 to 2%. Amy Woolner has put 1%. Marcia Wilson 2%. My guess was 3. Oh, we've got more here. We've got Leanne Hare 4%.
Brilliant, thank you guys. And Mrs. Woolner, Miss Woolner,
yeah,
I'd rather her keep quiet as well, because she's been done colour mastery with me. So it's 0.1 to 1%. How unbelievable is that? So when I think everybody now should actually give themselves a hug or pat themselves on the back, because we are every day doing fantastic colour work, colour corrections, vivids. We're getting that perfect tone, and we are working on either 0.1 or 1% of pigment. If you think that is an absolute light bulb moment, pop it in the chat for me, because again, I was thinking, what? This can't be right. I didn't even believe it, actually. When I was taught, I thought, that can't be right. So
the comments coming in with Nicola saying, oh my god, Linda Gilder, wow, a lot of head blowing emojis. Marcia Wilson with a confused, like, shocked face. And then Leanne, I'll finish it with Leanne Hare, but it's been such a long time since she went to college.
Do you know what? Because I didn't go to college, so I didn't learn any of this. So again, when that client came in and her toner hadn't lasted, now that's one of the main ones now, isn't it? The toner hasn't lasted. We get, as Reds, we get these questions all the time. Yeah. This client's come in and the toner's only lasted 3 days. Okay, so has she got any cuticle left? How porous is this hair? You know, because if it's really porous, the colour's going to go in and come back out. All these things, and this is what I've said about being an honest consultation. that should be really covered off, what you can achieve, and going through the little test that I'm going to go through now. So you are telling them exactly, you know, what you'll be able to achieve on the day. Expectations, you know, you're going to have to really talk to them about their expectations. It may be that you're not going to get that perfect copper or that perfect red, because what they need to buffer their hair back up with these things. Because if you think, if you haven't got those three things balanced,
Yeah.
however are you going to get a perfect result when you're working with 1% pigment? You're not. So whereas before, and I think this is well about recommending products, when I trained as a junior, we were all commission based, and it was a really, we have 17 juniors, so it was a really busy salon, and it was push to sell products. And because I didn't know any of this, I just think, oh God, I've got to recommend this now. And it was all a bit of a chore for me. But when I learnt this, it was like, this is not about selling. This has got nothing to do with selling. This is, I've got to tell the client this. And when you talk in this way, because I know that we've obviously got names for products, we've got Total Results, we've got a Biolage, which is our premium range, but I talk protein, lipid, moisture, and that's how I speak to clients. You know, I would talk about protein levels. I would talk about that, you know, the ceramide and the cuticles and the cuticle damage. So you need to have some type of ceramide treatment. That is the hook. At that point, I'm not really talking what I'm going to use, whether it will be Total Results or it will be Biolage, because that's secondary. When I'm talking this, once I've said it, they will actually tell me what I'm guided. Because if they're saying, well, I use probably a bit of my husband's, whatever he's got in the shower, I think, right, okay, so maybe they're thinking they're more price sensitive, I'll use this brand. If they are more premium and they're buying something that's quite, you know, high end in the supermarket, then I would go to like Biolage. But at that point, I'm just talking this to them, because when you talk in this way and you talk quite like science with them, they sit up and they listen to you. Okay, so I think it's a really, really good one, and there's something you should talk about. Really, I had this printed out as soon as I had learned all this. I had this printed it out. I had it on the coffee table, and I would pick this up as I was talking through the consultation with them, because they were like, "Wow, you know,
Well,
there's
I've
so
just
much
said this
wholeness on
basically in
skin,
the
isn't
chat.
it?"
I'm saying, like, this is how amazing is this to get this for free, like to share it with your staff, to share it with your team members, because this is the knowledge, and a few people have said this, so I'm going to read this out, and it's a big bugbear of mine that I'm learning this 17 years into my career, and it's not because I didn't want to know it, it's because I didn't know about it. I didn't even know to go and look for it until somebody like you opens my eyes, and then all of a sudden I'm asking you to come back. But Kimberly said that she never got taught anything like this at college. Leanne Hare says the same. And then Julie Medlin says she was taught about the structure of the hair, but never the percentages of stuff. Amazing information. And then Lee Pierce, who's obviously an amazing friend of ours, has said knowing this information is the difference between being a colour specialist versus a colourist.
It is, and you know, that's what Colour Mastery did for me. You know, I'd coloured for years and years, and when I started as well, I was perming. Doing, I would say, proper grey boots. You know, it was like, you know, the big stripe of grey and no multi-tone and cap highlights. That's what, you know, I started off like late 80s, 90s, and that's what we were doing. So I didn't have that really fundamental colour knowledge. But again, through education, and it's so empowering that, you know, you can talk about something like, you're not making it up as you go along. We've all got little stories that we have probably drawn to over the years. You think, well, I'll pull that one out of the bag. I haven't got to do that because I know it, you know. And I always think as well that for skin, you know, if you go to a dermatologist or if you go to a beautician, they'll talk quite in depth about skin and what the products you should have, your T-zone and things like that. But when it comes to hair, we don't generally talk that way. But when we do, that is the hook. And honestly, you know, retail sales, you haven't got to think about selling anything, because if you're not looking at the clients here and you're not thinking of protein moisture levels, then that colour is not going to work out brilliantly. And as a professional, that's how I should be talking. That's how I should be recommending. If they don't take that up, then, you know, you've done the best consultation that you can do. But I would say majority of them, as soon as you say that, oh, your protein levels are really down, you know, your hair is looking quite brittle, you're talking all these things, they can say, right, what do I need? You know, what do I need to solve this?
Well, that was sort of
So
my next question, because obviously now we know what the hair is made of. How do we spot the signs? I mean, I know that this is a course in itself, and I know that this could go on for hours, and we don't want to give away too much, obviously, because we want people to come on to the Claire John course next year. But yeah, like, what are the main signs? So obviously, if there's no protein in the hair, if there's no moisture in the hair, how do we sort of combat that, and how do we notice it in the first place?
absolutely brilliant. So I'm just going to go to the last one, because we
Okay.
have got minerals, and that's the last one. And that is 0.065%. So you can imagine it's just a trace. But in certain areas, you will get that certain clients will have more mineral buildup. I know that I look after beautiful Devon and Cornwall, and they've got well water down there. So, you know, you can get more minerals and metallic compounds in the hair from that. But generally, it is just a trace. But that is, like I said, the makeup of the hair.
And does that affect the sort of that colour applications as well? If the mineral,
It can, yeah. It can, again, it can have adverse on your colouring, on maybe on your grey coverages taken. There's a lot really with that down there. But
I think
yeah,
I've experienced that once with bleaching. I feel like
sorry.
I think I've experienced something similar to that with my bleaching. I once did a client and it just went red hot, and it was started to sort of like, you could see the steam coming out of the packets.
Yeah, so that's usually they've got some type of metallic compounds in the hair. And that's quite scary, because again, you know, that clients may not tell you the whole picture. They might not even know that they've got that in the hair, and then that happens to you. That's absolutely scary. So yeah, so again, when we're talking about protein, moisture and lipid, our protein again is going to be inside our hair, so in the cortex area. And again, we need this to keep the strength and keep the integrity of the hair. But it's quite easy to deplete it as well. So we talk about the 5 stresses. So even putting hot water, believe it or not, on your hair, you can lose some protein. It is minimal, but you still can lose a little bit of protein. So if you lose some protein, you can't make it back up. Okay, so if you think of a client, and I have to think of a scenario of client, and you might do this now and go back and think, and it probably was, you thought, oh, there's so many of clients that come into this. So they obviously shampoo their hair, everybody does, but they don't treatment it ever. Okay, so they've lost that little bit of protein, they haven't had it replaced. Then they have got a permanent colour on their hair. That's another lot of protein gone. So they've got colour on their hair and they don't treatment it. The other client is that she's got a colour on her hair, she doesn't treatment it, and she's got some foils, some highlight and some pre-lightener running through the hair as well, which we know pre-lightener depletes more protein than anything else. So how many clients really think comes in has got an all over colour, they've got highlights, and they don't treatment it? The 4th stress is a split end. So you think about that. That in itself was like, whoa, you know, I really need to educate these clients, because I've got clients that have got highlights, colour, never use any treatments on it. They might come in and say, don't put any conditioner on it. You know, it goes too soft and I can't blow dry. My blow dry won't stay in. But they've got colour on and they've got highlights in. You know, it's all those clients that I thought about. 4th stress, split end. There's no way back from a split end.
That's
It's
one of the
gone.
questions
It's
we've
done.
got, and I've been waiting sort of for a moment to jump in on it, really, because it's a similar concept. And the question, where I'll just highlight it here for everybody to read. It basically says, "Hi Claire, thanks for this. What do you recommend for improving hair quality, please?" Now I know that you might not want to answer that yet, because you might want to go on to that later. But she thought that once the hair was wrecked from overheat or over process it, that you could not recover it.
So there's going to be, and that's a great question, there's going to be, like I said, about a split end. There's going to be a stage where there's no way back from that. And we know it needs to be cut.
Okay.
Funny enough, those are the clients that never, ever want a haircut. So, you know, say, well, you either have it cut now because in another month, you'll have a bob on your own anyway because it have snapped off. So again, really being honest and truthful with that client, because they're always the ones that don't look after it. They use loads of heat tools. They might come in one side's up here and the other side's lower. And yeah, they absolutely need a haircut. You know that when it's a split end, you can see that little white ball. So optically, we can see that little ball, can't we? That is, I always think of it, my little analogy is that as a Tom and Jerry cartoon, and they, you know, when they put the stick of dynamite in their mouth and it would blow and everything would roll back on themselves. And really that's what a split end is. It is just completely exposed. So what will happen with that as well is that if you don't cut it, that's not going to heal on its own. It's just going to keep creeping up and up and up the hair shaft. So it needs to be cut off for you to actually start again. So yeah, and again, honest conversations, they're not always easy, but as a professional we should be talking about that as well. So your 4 stresses, the last stress, which I like to talk about, your 5th stress, you've got a split end. That 5th stress is that they're actually taking it home in a bag. It's gone. So again, you know, how many clients, you just have a little think about your bread and butter, your daily clients that come in that would fit under those categories, because they don't have any treatments, it always goes too soft, they've got an olive color and they've got highlights. A lot, isn't there?
Yeah.
So again, how important is it that we are talking about recommending protein shampoo and conditioner to those clients that have got all those things? So again, it's still going to be a balance, but I would say you can indicate by chemical damage. So if they've got lots of highlights in the hair, they are going to be lacking probably in the top 3, but mainly in protein as well. Again, it could be that you've done all your tests and you've thought, okay, so she needs to have a protein-based shampoo and conditioner, but I think she needs maybe a moisture treatment. You've sold the client now her keratin shampoo and conditioner, and you know, you thought, oh God, that was quite easy. She took that on board, brilliant. The next time she comes back, she's in love with it. Oh my Lord, my hair's feeling amazing. I love the smell of it. Pop that up on the top for me again. And I've done this. Brilliant. I haven't even talked to her about that too much today. She sold for another lot, shampoo, conditioner. She might even have a take-home spray of something or other, same time. Brilliant, fabulous. But I didn't analyse that hair to see if her protein levels had come back up to normal, because what I've done now, she's gone back home with that again. And protein and moisture and lipid are always going to be like a specialist range. You're always going to have to keep looking to see what those levels are. Like I said, some hair can tip over quite easily, others not so much. But that client now, maybe she's on a 3rd shampoo conditioner. She comes in and she's looking a little bit wonky. So the one side has started to go. She's complaining about it being a little bit brittle. It feels like it's snapping easy when she's brushing it. Now, back before I knew this, I didn't really know what to say, to be honest. I'd be like, oh, that's unusual, because again, you know, it's a really, really good shampoo and conditioner. I use it on mine and so-and-so uses it. But what we've done is that we haven't every time gone and done a consultation and seen about what her protein levels are now. Because if she was maybe 40 or 50% depleted, maybe one lot of shampoo and conditioner would have been, and maybe a keratin treatment would have been enough for her. It would have come back up to 70 or 80%. Absolutely brilliant. The next time she came in, because I didn't check, it could have been moisture she needed. But because she said she loved it, I thought, do you know what? Have that. I haven't even got to talk to her about it today. So again, every time those hair changes, every single time they come in, and there's little easy ways that you can tell that client's hair, is her protein levels up now? Does she need some moisture? And one of these really, and again, you've probably been taught this in college, but do we actually do it in the salon? Would be I would say for your elasticity, this is where you're going to be lacking in moisture. Okay, so I've got elastic band as a little analogy for you here. So to do this on a client, I would say if you've got really fine hair like mine, maybe 2 or 3 strands. If it's medium or thicker hair, 1 strand would be enough. You would damp that hair down, not soaking wet, but damp it down, and then you would do a little stretch test, okay, on that hair. If that hair stretched, I would say probably about a 20-30%, and then it came back onto itself, so again, a curl would maybe have a nice curl formation, you would know that that hair is quite healthy, okay? So the levels are just, you know, right. Her moisture levels are just really, really nice. The hair feels like it's in good integrity. I know that as well, I'm going to get a really good color result with this. So she wanted a really rich copper. She wanted a red. She wanted a really good toner. I can feel by that hair is going to be in quite good nick then.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but if I couldn't stretch it, I'm like, God, it is rigid. I know that hair is over proteinized.
Right.
It is brittle. There's no giving it at all. That hair is going to snap. If I put any more pressure on that, it's going to snap. So I know that it's packed with protein. So if I'd have checked that client the last time she'd come in and I'd have done that test, I would have known really, she might have been just in that really lovely, oh, she's 20-30% there. That's great. So again, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend something else. It could be I'm going to give her some ceramide to go with because she's using a lot of heat tools lately.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everybody?
It does to myself, yeah. I mean, I've even at the second time, and it's probably still going in. So, because there's a lot of information for people that are watching that feel like, oh, they should know it. Even I definitely should know it, and I don't know it all. So, I mean, Claire's like a guru. Even I message Claire every now and again saying, what would you do for this? Because it's impossible to know everything unless you sort of like focused on it. Like you do courses on it, you do a thing on it. You know, you can learn something new all the time, I imagine, and it's definitely new for me. Most of this, anyway.
You know, I think that we are constantly learning, absolutely all the time, and when you start on that process, and I know there's a few of them on you tonight that have started with us of that online learning, you would really get addicted to it because again, it's your profession, it's your passion, and God, I wish I'd done so well in the subjects in school. But because I'm so passionate about it and I love it, it's easy to learn it, and I think that's with a lot of us as well. So again, little simple elasticity. I'm not saying to tell a granny to suck eggs because you've probably done it, but why are you doing it, and what's the benefit of doing it? And it should be done at every consultation, really.
You've got a lot of love coming through. Just sort of bring that into you because obviously when you're doing your live, you start thinking, I hope everyone's entertained. Rosie Briscoe summed it up perfectly for me because she's on obviously the art team with me, and she said, I should know this, but you are blowing my mind, Claire. And then a lot of people saying, yes, makes perfect sense, thank you very much. It makes sense. It's difficult sometimes to recommend products when everything screams keratin, protein based or enhanced.
Yeah.
Shauna.
So again, I've got a little analogy for porosity because porous hair, again, and I think porosity is just the ability to absorb. So if you've got a client that's got, you have seen that hair, we didn't have it that much in South Wales, I have to say, but it's glassy, beautiful. It reflects the light coming through it, and you can see that lovely, lovely shine. That cuticle is going to be really tight and impact. So there's going to be no porosity there. Again, it can be a little bit tricky the other way because, you know, it's maybe a little bit harder to actually colour that hair because that cuticle needs to open up to accept the colour. But that glassy hair has got absolutely the cuticles. Imagine the roof tiles are really, really firm in place. They're not shifting anywhere.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we know that when we look at our clients that have got colour on, pre-lightener, they're using heat tools, you know, they're having the lovely big bouncy blow dries. We know that there's going to be some cuticle damage there as well.
Yeah.
If they have got cuticle damage, this is where we are going to compromise on the longevity of our colour. So when we've maybe done a toner, and then that client's come back and maybe they've got the toner on the lower root and upper mid band, but it's gone after maybe she's come back after a week and she has no tone left in those midlands and ends. And it's probably because her cuticles are raised up and that tone is accepted because porous hair will absorb it really easily. But what it will do, and especially using hot water, again, it's going to open everything up more, out it comes.
Yeah.
So I've got a little analogy here. I've got a cup of water, and I've got some different sponges. I actually think that I first saw this with Lee Pierce, who's on here tonight, and I just thought it was a really great visual. I know that we are visual people, visual learners. I come over like that. Can you see me? Or
Yeah, I can see the glass. Yeah, just about. Don't go any further though, to your left.
Okay, no problem. So I've got here
Yeah.
a natural sponge. Okay. So when we think of a natural sponge, it's quite rough to touch, isn't it? It's really uneven, but what it has got, it's got a lot of holes in it.
Okay.
So when you put this into any type of liquid, it starts to absorb really, really quickly. Okay. So I'm just dipping it in there and I'm hardly touching it, and I can feel that water. Can you see it running out?
Yeah.
It's actually absorbed all the liquid, and now the sponge is full and it's dripping back out. Okay. So imagine if you had very porous hair. So the analogy is, this is going to be a client that's got really raised cuticles or damaged cuticles. Okay. And again, it's absorbing the color, but then you know it's not going to last very long because it's going to come back out. Then we've got a normal, I've just took a slice, it's like a normal bath sponge, but you can see that there's holes in it, but they're very, very compact and they're close together. Okay. So this would probably be a client that's got quite, I would say, average condition hair, a little bit porous, because, be honest, the majority of us are going to have some type of porosity, some cuticles raised or damaged. Hairdressers are the worst, by the way. And then you can see that I've had to really squeeze that to get some water into it. Okay. So that's like an average hair type, I would say.
Okay.
If you've got the type that we spoke about a little bit earlier, that they're glassy, you can see that the light is reflecting off it because the shine, the cuticles are so closed. I've got a little beauty blender here. Now you can feel the beauty blender. It's really, really compact. There's no holes to be seen. And I could probably dunk away for about 10 minutes on here. There's no water coming out from that. Okay. So that's right. Does anybody relate to that as a little analogy to be able to tell you what extremely porous, average hair, and then that really glassy tight cuticle?
But you've definitely got their attention because the comments have stopped since you started that analogy, so they're obviously all watching. But Rachel Hannon's dived on and said hello. And somebody's asked if they can watch this later. I have commented back, but yeah, it'll be on the YouTube channel and on our Facebook, but it's easy sometimes to find on YouTube. And then people are commenting now saying, such a good explanation from Marcia Wilson. Jacqueline Hurst says, yes, fab. And then Kelly Majid has said, would that be grey? And I'm not sure exactly what the question.
So that's a really good question, actually, because we know there isn't really grey hair, it's white hair, it's lost all its pigment. But not only what we can see visually of it being white, everything is compacted. So I told you about that rope structure that's in the middle of the hair. That has really tightened up. But also everything has its cuticle as well. So that's why not only has it lost its pigment and it's harder to replace the pigment, that's why we've got like double pigmented products. But also it's hard because we've got to try and open all that up to get that colour. Remember, what 0.1 or 1% we're trying to find in that hair, which is probably depleted as well because it's gone white. And then we've got all this tight cuticle and this tight structure inside as well. So yes, absolutely, it would be like the beauty blender. And that's why we've got to use, maybe a 20 vol or a higher peroxide when it's with that color, like the catalyst, to actually open everything up to accept and color white hair. So really good
About
question.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I'll keep counting, but they're all coming in saying great explanation. Thank you so much. Myself personally, I'm saying that like it's just baffling it because so many variations, not just the problem in the first place, but there's the variations of the problem. Like you just said, then you've also lost the color pigment because it's gone grey naturally, and then you've got the issues that so it's pretty much going to be at 0.1 then, isn't it? If it's already lost the colour as
Yeah, and
well.
again, that is an average here.
Yeah.
But I would say when you've got the pigment is going, sometimes it'll still be there. Perhaps you can't even see it visually. Like we say, 100% white hair, it will still be there down in that cortex somewhere, but absolutely minimal. But you will know, and probably the guys that are on tonight will know that you'll think, oh right, okay, 100% white hair. She wants now to have some pre-lightened highlights or even go over a scalp bleach. You'll know then that she's got pigment because it will come out either, oh, lovely salmon or bright yellow. That's the little bit of remaining pigment that's going to kick you at the bum, so to speak.
Sean has also said, just to further on our explanation, is that you can have multiple zones of porosity as well on the same head, and that makes for fun time, she says.
It absolutely does. And, again, you're going to, majority of times you are going to get different zones of different levels of porosity. So, your roots and your upper mid band are always going to be in quite good condition. I would say from your lower mid bands to your ends, again, you're going to get more porosity. You'd have to be actually led in a capsule and, not to have any type of porosity at all, even by brushing it or, ultraviolet heat as well, so sunlight, everything's going to cause damage to the hair. But yeah, so again, we have got great ranges within Matrix to be able to use. I'd say Biolage is very prescriptive as well. So with all those different zones, you can tackle different areas.
I have asked people to send me pictures and I haven't even checked to see if they have. But just in case they haven't, I'm going to throw a couple of pictures at you and then you tell me what you would recommend for that client who's coming into my salon, say next week. We'll just make that up. So if my first lady came in with said problem, which I would describe it, let me see if I can make that bigger for everybody to see.
I've got my glasses on, Simon. You have to make that a bit bigger for me. Right, okay.
So she's come in, she's got probably greasy hair at the roots. I'd say there's bleach on the ends of that, if you can see. It's a bit pixelated now, sorry. But what would you recommend to this client? Because there's probably a couple of problems there.
Yeah.
First step?
So I'd say, and what's quite a common one as well is greasy roots and dry ends. We used to get that a lot in the salon, and probably I still get people asking me that now. So again, when you're shampooing, we can get a bit overzealous and a bit too vigorous with our technique. So really, when you are shampooing, you should only be doing like a cleansing. And when you get your fingertips in and you rub and rub and rub, what you're doing there is you're overstimulating your sebum gland. So it's a bit of a catch-22. So that we think that our hair's greasy. So we are shampooing it and then we're giving it a good, maybe even 2 shampoos because we need to get it clean. And then we're stimulating the sebum gland and we're causing more oil to be produced. So it's that type of catch-22. So what you'd need is probably a clarifying shampoo. So a very mild, we've got Scalp Sync comes to mind for us as well, normalizing shampoo. So that's going to try and sort out the levels, but also the technique that you're using, just a really light cleanse. You shouldn't be scrubbing at the hair at all, because what you're going to do is you're stimulating the scalp. When you're using any conditioner, you shouldn't be putting any conditioner anywhere near your roots really at all. So your conditioner should be just emulsified through, I would say, from probably upper mid band, maybe where your colour is. So up here, down through, and when you're massaging it, going in the way of the cuticle. So again, what we can do as well is we can go and rough our hair up, and then we're tugging at it then to brush it back out. Again, it's going to be really quite delicate state when it's wet anyway. So if you're actually smoothing that, I've got a really big tooth comb, especially with curls as well. And when I'm using my conditioner, I start from the bottom and I will just literally comb up to the mid lengths of my hair. And then when I go to comb it out, once I've rinsed it off, I haven't got all that tugging as well with it. So I would say that's a combination. She'd probably need a little bit of if she's got some pre-lightener in there. So it could be a protein, but I would say protein, moisture, probably a little bit of ceramide as well. It could be a whole lot of that. I would probably have to do my little tests on that to really see, but definitely with the Roots, some type of clarifying cleansing shampoo.
A lot of people are asking, what is the Matrix clarifying shampoo called, please?
So we've got, with Total Results, we've got Amplify shampoo, which can be, it's protein, but it's a cleansing shampoo as well. Okay. Our Colour Last would probably have everything in it with Total Results. So it would have your protein, moisture and lipid. So again, it's not going to give you too much moisture, but I would say for our Biolage, it would be our Scalp Sync range. So our normalizing
I've not used that yet.
The Biolage Scalp Sync range are amazing. You've got the mint shampoo, dandruff shampoo, and again, they were a really good one for gents as well, because a lot of gents will use clays and heavy products on their hair, and that will actually block up their pores on their scalp as well. So Scalp Sync is great to just address that scalp and cleanse those pores.
Yep, Lee Pierce has dived on that as well, saying Biolage Clean Reset. Sorry, I've covered it.
Clean Reset.
General clarifying product.
Yeah, Mr. Biolage yourself there.
So let's do a second one. Sorry about the control. I'm still getting to grips with it. So obviously very pixelated again, but we've got an over bleached, quite brassy hair. There's a bit of breakage in there. What would Mrs. X be advised from yourself, Claire?
So again, looking at that, I would undoubtedly say that she needs some protein if she's got some snapping going off there. But it could be that I'm going to do quite a prescriptive thing. So in the salon, I would do a protein-based shampoo, but I might then put either, it could actually be a moisture treatment, or with its Biolage, we've got Fiber Strong, which actually works on the outer part of the cuticle. So it's it's bamboo, so it's going to strengthen that outer part. So I would say probably protein, moisture second, but at that stage, if she's got highlights, she's got breaking off, she's got all over blonde, she'd want to address all those levels: protein, moisture, and lipid. But again, I would say as well that with your products, I used to do a upgrade to a care package. So again, with my consultation, I'd speak about all those protein, moisture, lipid. So I'd already engaged them, and I've got them there. And then say, how would you like to upgrade to a care package today? Okay, so what does that entail? So I've diagnosed your hair. We're going to be using those products with a treatment today, and then you're able to take the shampoo and conditioner home. With your cut and blow dry, all incorporated in. Oh, lovely.
Big fan of that.
And then I'd run that for the month of May, February. And then because it did that well, I might extend that as well. But always thinking of, you get your sales consultant who are very good in updating you with, what deals they've got, the knowledge of the product. But for me as a salon owner, it was always, right, how am I going to implement this into a service? And every range that I had, I wanted to put into some type of service to sell out to the client, because the last thing we want is a stand full of products that we dust and put back every week. We want to actually get the client using that. And when you're recommending, you get clients then are just coming in and buying products from you.
I think it's a great way as well. Like, so obviously when we're looking in January, February coming up in 2021, and you're looking at maybe ways to drive in traffic, there's been a lot of DIY hair in 2020. I think that treatments are what I started learning at. We weren't necessarily fans in my first ever salon of discounting. It was more of giving something extra for the same price. Like you just said, Ben.
And and I could get that. So Simon, it was a treatment was if you were running late. Pop a treatment on for there now. Give me a 10 minutes or 15 minutes leeway. I probably could finish off my blow dry and have half a sandwich. to stick
Well,
the treatment on, but then you wouldn't charge for it.
when you work it out, and people, like, one of the most common offers that you get is a percentage off. So you get 20% off all colours in January, February if you come, and you haven't been in since whatever. But when you work that out over £110 to £140 colour service, which obviously is not necessarily what we charge in towns, but definitely is in cities, and you work that out, that's a massive chunk. Whereas a shampoo and a conditioner might cost you less than half of that. But I feel that as a client and a consumer, having something tangible in my hands and coming away with something extra often feels better than getting a discount. That's my personal preference, anyway.
And I always think that if you're doing lots of discounts, then maybe you could get certain clients that are asking why you discounted things all the time. A lot of us have we are experts in our field. We've done a lot of training. We're giving a really professional service, and we've just got to believe in ourselves. I don't even know, I've said this before, I don't even know, back years ago, I used to I would do anything that stand by the desk and take the money. So if we would have a little bit of bartering system going out with the other stylists, they're like, Claire, you can't charge that same price, you've literally put 200 foils in that client. And I go, so how much do you say then? So they would say a price, and I go, right, you say it and I'll run upstairs. And I would run upstairs.
I still do that.
And I come down and I go, so what did they say? Oh, they said they thought that was really reasonable. I think, no, we should have charged them extra. But why do we do that? Why do we? I think it's because we're people pleasers. We want to be, and we go over that margin of wanting to be their friends, don't we, when we are there providing a service, really. But, just believe in your worth. And if you're doing these fantastic consultations with them, your stuff, then it's a breeze. And I'm not just saying that now. It is so easy, because I haven't got to remember every single ingredient in the back of the bottle. And to be honest, that was one of the things that I know my staff were the same. You'd get my salesperson would come in. He would say, he was very, very good at that. Claire, you're running a bit low. Shall I sort your stand out for you? 300 quid later, he'd have done that. So, you could have 3 there when you're selling. So you got this, going off. And I'd think, oh, God, I haven't got time. You've got a new range in there now. I haven't read all this. So you've got this client, you think, well, I could talk to her about that range, but what if she trips me up? What if she asks me what's in it? And I'm like, don't talk about it. And I know, hold my hand up, I've done that so many times. But now I know this makeup, every range I've got, go, right, okay, so I'll say to the salesperson, right, so what's the protein range in this then? It's this. That's brilliant. Right, the moisture, I've got the ceramide. That's fine. I haven't got to know it's got monolith, glossylisa, whatever it is in the back of it that I can't even pronounce. I don't need to know it, because I know the makeup of the hair. I know what that client needs. And with that, just comes that, give yourself a break.
It's like it's almost like and I hate this sort of terminology usually, but it's almost like you're prescribing something for somebody. But when you get something and you feel like there's something wrong with you physically or emotionally or whatever, and you go to somewhere like a doctor's and they say, right, this is what you need, it's going to make you better. How much better do psychologically, instantly do you feel from that sort of diagnosis or whatever? And yet, as hairdressers, we know the problems, we know how to fix it, but we're scared of telling them. It's like it's embarrassing for them to hear, and we should just be encouraging it, because everybody has a problem with their hair. Like, you will have something you don't like about your hair. I was playing with mine earlier to say, like, look how fine and sort of brittle my hair is when you mentioned it earlier, but I'm just brittle in general. And you were talking about it. Everybody has a problem with their own hair, but if someone told me the solution to my problem, then I would probably try it. And it's just about believing in what you're saying. But I'll throw one more at you, one for a bit of fun, this one. You haven't seen this one, so there you go.
Is this one only in a bag?
There you go. So a lady's come in, she's got over curly hair, and she doesn't know quite what to do. I do have a better picture than that, but I found that one afterwards that I thought was funny. Similar problem. Curly hair not curling necessarily as much as it should do at the minute.
So funny enough, I do know quite a bit about curls. I don't know why. But yeah, so curly hair, naturally, now we've got the makeup, haven't we, with moisture being 10 to 15%, but curly hair lacks moisture naturally. So you're probably talking about 8 to 10% for naturally curly hair. Afro hair, again, can be, lacking in moisture, but also can be quite weak as well. So yeah, and that can change. Curly hair as well absorbs, can be very, very porous. So I can literally over proteinize mine with one go.
Right. Okay.
The other way, I can over moisturize it in one go. It's a very, very fine balance. And I'm always using different products and never stick to the same products, because if I over moisturize it, I lose all curl definition. And I always think of it as like, you know, you got a piece of wheat, and when it's dried out, it puffs out like that. That's what my hair goes like when I've got too much moisture in it. Right. It just goes really frizzy. So if you see, or if you've got curls, or if your client is having a lot of frizz in amongst their curls, then they're probably using something that's too moisturized for them. They probably need to go on the area of protein, moisture, and keeping that real fine balance as well. But curly hair is always harder work than the average hair. You know, when you get it in perfect balance, your curls, the bounce is perfect, but you can tip it over, and again, you can just have a ball of fizz, especially with humidity and things like that as well. But I would say, yeah, moisture, a little bit of protein, more moisture, a little bit of protein, then a ceramide treatment.
What a good answer that is. Well, thank you very much. We've battered you with an hour's worth of information there. Thanks very much, Claire.
Thank you so much for having me, Simon.
No, you're welcome. The reason we got you on is me and you crossed paths, for those who don't know, in obviously we'll work together anyway, but I mean on the lockdown 1, where you came and saved the day on an Instagram live, and I was fascinated. I think I went out into my garden and sat down there and just watched it, because I was just sort of fascinated by the whole situation. And then you've come again and you've taught everybody what I was obsessed with in lockdown 1. So thank you very much for your time, because I know that you are valuable in the Matrix world.
Oh, thank you so much, and I've really enjoyed it. And I've got to say, the last hour, that's all I could think about is a can of beer. I wish you hadn't mentioned that, Simon. I'm like dribbling at the thought of one. So
the beautiful thing, we're not sponsored by a brand, so I'm not going to tell you the name of it. But the beautiful thing about this is I can get away with it's a can of pop, because no one actually has a clue.
I think I read something the other day as well, that all on these virtual meetings now, you can put vodka in your mug and nobody knows any difference, especially if you blow it a couple of times like you think it's a cup of tea.
So my nana and granddad taught me that when I was a young man, probably not old enough to drink, on how to get your beer into the football ground in a flask.
Right.
Similar sort of concept. Yeah, you're not allowed to drink in the stand here, but if you take it in a flask, you always get away with it. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that it's going on to the digital world nowadays, like everything else. But
brilliant. Well,
loads of people
is there
comment.
Any questions or anything, Simon, on there? Or
well, I'll read out the comments while we wait to see if there's anybody got any questions, because there's a lot. So forgive me if I miss any out. But Shauna. Well, they're all saying thank you. I'll read out any different ones that are individual. But Shauna Bossett, Linda Gilder, Nicholas Soul, Kim Burns, thanks Claire again, brilliant. Leanne Hare, thank you Claire and Simon. Amy Church, Anne Wrigley, they're all sort of reading. I'm trying to read everyone because you're all important as each other, but I'm doing it in order. Claire Saunders has written something different. Thank you Claire and Simon, such a brilliant live, so much information. Great session Claire and Simon, from Lee Pearce, and that's a compliment in itself. For those who don't know Lee Pearce, it is a massive compliment. Shauna, it's 5 o'clock in Canada, so I presume she's watching from Canada.
Oh, thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah, we've gone international. We've got a few followers. We've got Cyprus, that's a regular. We've got a lot in Canada because we connected during lockdown 1. A few in America, and where's the other one I've got? Australia. A couple in Australia.
Wow.
Yeah, they watch regular. There probably is some other places, but I don't look into it.
It is a great platform, I have to say. It was fantastic through lockdown. I think just to unite everybody and keep everybody going. So well done, Simon, for that.
Well, Phil's commented, and this is an interesting one because I shared it to a few other pages, so I presume this is how he's seeing it. But Phil Townend has said, a lot went over my head because I am a barber, but I do think I took something away from it. Beer in the flask, mainly. Thank you to both. So we're reaching out to everybody, mate. I enjoy it. But yeah, you guys rock. Ceramides. Can you leave a link to more courses? What a good time to ask that question. Wendy Williams has asked, can we put any information about courses? So if you could send me some of that, I will post it on the hair socials for everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have got shameless plugs behind me. I don't know if you can see it. So again, you know, we've got a fantastic array of education that we are doing online. It is getting less and less now towards Christmas, but we've got a brilliant offering for 2021. It's been a new norm for us, but we're absolutely loving it. And we've reached over 3 million hairdressers.
Wow.
So yeah, just keep it coming. We've got a Matrix Professional Facebook page, where again we've got artists, we've got some like myself, we've got Matrix educators that are doing, it's just really interactive. There's videos to watch, there's lots of product information, and also we've got newsletter. So we'd love you to sign up to the newsletter, and that's going to give you all the latest information on Matrix, so you'll feel really clued in. But yeah, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed it. Always have a little bit of nerves when we start on and think, oh, what am I going to talk about for an hour? It always absolutely flies by.
Yeah,
anybody knows me, man, can't shut me up. So
wait till Monday, mate, when you're on my course. I did last Monday saying you're going to have to help me drag this out to Lisa, who was hosting for me. I don't know, I'm going to speak for an hour and a half, 2 hours. She had to cut me off. I start finished.
She's very good at doing that, Lisa.
She's good at doing that.
Yeah,
but just as a final, Lee John has dived on at the perfect time again, as usual, and said the loads of stuff on L'Oreal Access. If you haven't got L'Oreal Access, it's an app. You just need to register for an account. I don't think you have to do anything to prove that you're a professional hairdresser or anything. I think it's simply just a registration form. And then you pay as you go, really, don't you, for the courses, I believe?
Yeah, so you'll put L'Oreal Access into your browser.
Yep.
Google Chrome is about the best one.
Yep.
And then you would just put your email address in, you make a password, and you've got an account. And there's so much to see on there. There's free education, there's e-learnings, and there's also paid courses as well. We've got a few on Kimberly, Leanne has been joining us all the way through lockdown, and I know that we've been having some great feedback off them. So again, you know, and we always say about it, you know, knowledge is power, and I'm probably the living result of that, because I had an apprenticeship. I did in salon, no college training. Technically, yes, I could wind a perm in about 20 minutes because I had to. I didn't know. And you know, the main thing as well that I always think about is the why. Why? You know, you've got that 2-year-old child that asks you 10 times, but why? But why? And I think we've got a lot of hairdressers that are still, but why? Because I was for years. And through education and you know, and I could get with the gentleman who was the barber, you know, I've learned something. If you just learn one thing, every time you attend something, 1 or 2 things, you're not going to know everything about a product with one course, but you just build and build and build that knowledge. And you know what, 9 years ago, I actually did colour mastery. Last year, I did the lead and taught it. And I was like pinching myself. The full 10 days, I'm like, I'm leading colour mastery,
well,
you know, and it's just, it's an amazing experience. But I think I've gone on that circle of learning, and I'm still learning.
Well, I was
every
going to
day
say that
learning.
there's 2 people that I've met, and I've met hundreds and possibly nearly thousands of hairdressers because I've been blessed with my career. And you're the second person to use the exact sentence of that you asked the question why, because you didn't want the question and the answer that was given wasn't enough. You wanted to know why was that the answer. And that was Annalise, who worked for L'Oreal Professional. Yes. She's now she's gone self-employed with Harriet Stokes.
Right.
Mates, they do education as well. I'm not plugging anybody specific because it's a neutral venue here. But the best thing I love about the L'Oreal Access is I'm a hairdresser from Burnley who wanted for years, because I did every part of hairdressing years ago until I ventured off into my own path. And I wanted to learn colour mastery, and I've been begging to learn colour mastery, but it was only ever available in London for 3 weeks, or in Manchester if you were lucky at the certain courses and things like that. Now the Matrix version are available on Access to do in your own home, and that is something that might not be there forever. So I think that if you're even thinking about it, get it signed up and get on it now, because I don't think that will be on digital forever. I think they'll remove that from digital. They might not do. I'm not speaking on behalf of L'Oreal. I'll look into the camera for that. But yeah, I think that it's amazing that it's there.
Yeah, because we have got one of the e-learnings. It is chargeable, but you can go in and at your own leisure and do it. It's called the Core. Okay. And probably what I've outlined today and I've talked about is that first module. and it goes right into the hair structure, and it's a
Yeah.
brilliant module. And again, you can do it little quizzes and questions to reaffirm, you know, your learnings. But I think there's three or four on there at the minute, but we're building for those as well. But again, you'll have a little e-learning certificate at the end of it as well to say you've completed it. But yeah, I would say for anyone, never stop learning, never. You know, and I'll probably be learning till I'm unable to. But yeah, so it's a great thing, a great industry to be in, and even more so now because the technologies, it's hard to keep up with the way things are going and the technologies of the products as well.
I'll just
So
well, I'll let you go, but just before I do, I'll just clarify. I use the word colour mastery. It might not be colour mastery. I might have used the wrong term of the course there, but there is a colour diplomas, and I think L'Oreal have their version of it.
yeah,
So I take colour mastery because I get all the course names wrong. I even name my own course wrong. I put on the big sign said "Get Digital Ready," and it's not called that, is it? It's called, what was that, Matt? Let's Get Digital. I called it, and it's called Digital Ready. That were it.
I thought it was digital ready.
Yeah, no, it is. See, I always get them wrong. But yeah, but the courses that weren't available unless I went to London or Manchester for a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks in the mastery world are now available online. So that's why I mentioned it. So yeah, thank you, Claire. I will just end the live, but I'll speak to you in 1 second. Bear with me. Bye, everybody.